Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the News at 6, where we get you the day's top developing stories. Here are the headlines. 8 civilians are injured as Pakistani troops shell civilian hamlets and forward posts along the LOC in the Poonch and Rajouri districts. Indian Army retaliates strongly with heavy firing. US claims the key to India becoming a permanent member of UN Security Council is not to touch veto. US envoy to UN Nikki Haley says the need is to focus on Russia and China, which are against any changes. Chinese President Xi Jinping calls for building a community of shared destiny, emphasizes that China will never seek hegemony or expansion. And American author George Saunders wins Britain's Man Booker Prize for his novel Lincoln in the Bar, becomes the second US author to win the award in 2 years. Our top story this evening coming in from Jammu and Kashmir, where 2 fresh instances of ceasefire violations were reported. Pakistani troops resorted to unprovoked heavy firing in Poonch and Rajouri districts, injuring at least 7 civilians. The Indian Army retaliated strongly to the cross-border firing that comes barely a week after Pakistan's army chief said that his country desires peaceful relations with India.
Over half a dozen people were injured in unprovoked heavy firing by Pakistani troops in Kashmir on Wednesday. The Pakistani Rangers fired heavy mortar shells at various places along the line of control in Rajouri and Poonch districts. Indian forward posts and civilian hamlets in Balakot, Basuni, Sandot and Manjakot areas were targeted.
सुबह 7 बजे से शेलिंग हो रही है। बहुत ज़्यादा लोगों को नुकसान हुआ है लोगों का, और 5-6 आदमी इंजर्ड हुए हैं, और एक सीरियस था जिसको डॉक्टर साहब ने रेफ़र कर दिया राजौरी में। और बाकी जो हालात इस वक्त भी जो है, ये देखो सामने अभी गोले पड़ रहे हैं, तो लोग बहुत परेशान हैं। इनको बंद कर दिए जाएं कहीं, और एम्बुलेंसें इधर और दी जाएं, क्योंकि जब 5-6 पे आ जाते हैं इंजर्ड तो उनको भेजना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है इनके लिए।
लगातार शेलिंग इस वक्त भी चल रही है, जिसमें बालाकोट, दराटी, बसूनी, सासुता, सोहाला, पंजनी और इस तिरकुंडी गली तक लगातार इस वक्त तक फायरिंग बदस्तूर जारी है।
हमारे ज़िले के मंजाकोट सेक्टर में और पुंछ ज़िले के बालाकोट सेक्टर में फायरिंग की जो वारदात हुई है। रेस्क्यू टीम्स या फर्स्ट एड की जो टीम्स हैं वो इलाके में मौजूद हैं, और जो ही कोई ऐसी ज़रूरत पड़ती है तो वो एकदम से रिस्पांस या रिएक्ट करते हैं।
In a separate incident in Pahalgam area, 4 people were injured when security forces fired on a mob following an alleged braid chopping incident. Amid the spurt in violent incidents, Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti met Home Minister Rajnath Singh in New Delhi. At the 30-minute meeting, Mufti briefed the Home Minister about the prevailing situation and the steps taken to maintain peace in the state. Rajnath Singh assured the Chief Minister of all central assistance to her government in maintaining peace in Jammu and Kashmir. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, American ambassador at the United Nations, Nikki Haley, has said that Russia and China do not want any change in the UN Security Council. She said that while US is fully behind India on the issue, none of the Security Council members want any dilution of their powers and privileges. Nikki Haley said that India should increase its efforts to garner support of the member nations on this issue.
Addressing an event organized by the US-India Friendship Council in Washington, D.C., American Ambassador Nikki Haley said, while the US was on board for a permanent Security Council seat for India, China and Russia are not inclined for any change. She said that if India wants to let the process of Security Council forward, it shouldn't touch the issue of veto. Haley said, and I quote, "This reform of the UN Security Council is much more about the veto. The permanent 5 members of the Security Council have the ability to veto. Russia, China, UK, US and France, and none of them want to give that up. So the key to getting India on the Security Council would have to be not to touch the veto." Unquote. This was the first time that any permanent member of the Security Council was raising doubts over another member's intentions. But the fact remains that at the last India-Russia summit in Goa, Russia clearly supported India's bid for a permanent membership at the UN Security Council. Even China hasn't opposed India's candidature openly. For India, G4 members, Germany, Brazil and Japan have always said they want equal status, rights and privileges as old permanent members. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, as the Delhi air quality worsens, a graded response plan has been brought in by the Environment Pollution Control Authority. A slew of measures have been ordered, such as closing of the Badarpur power plant, diesel generators, as well as hundreds of brick kilns. Essential services such as the Delhi Metro and hospitals in the city, which depend on diesel generator sets, will also be exempted. But if the air quality worsens, Delhiites will have to shell out 4 times amount as parking fee. Environment Pollution Control Authority Chairman Bhure Lal and member Sunita Narayan announced the decision following a review meeting in New Delhi. Sunita Narayan said that if air pollution aggravates further and in case it touches alarming proportions, cars will have to be off roads. This order will remain in force till the 15th of March.
We have moved into the very severe poor category, very poor severe category. Closure of Badarpur has happened as of today. This will happen. Badarpur thermal power plant will remain closed till March 15th, and then there will be a permanent closure in July of 2018. The effort is to bring everybody on board to say, GRAP is coming in, this is going to be a tough period, actions need to be taken, put up your system so that vigilance is improved. Enforcement and vigilance has to be the way we move ahead.
Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has reached Port Blair for a 2-day visit of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. During her stay, the Defence Minister will celebrate Diwali with the troops of Andaman and Nicobar Command and interact with their families during various events. She will also visit the operational area of the Command and Air Force Station Car Nicobar. The Minister will then lay wreaths at Swatantra Jyoti in Cellular Jail and the Tsunami Memorial at Car Nicobar. This is Sitharaman's first visit to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands after taking charge as Defence Minister. The Andaman and Nicobar Command is India's only tri-services command. In other news, China's biggest political event, the Communist Party Congress, began on Wednesday in Beijing. And at the opening session of the CPC's 19th Congress, President Xi Jinping assured its neighbors that China is ready to resolve its disputes through dialogue. Xi also spoke about his plans to make the 2.3 million strong PLA the world's largest military into a world-class force. The week-long meeting will also amend the party's constitution.
Referring to the Doklam standoff, President Xi Jinping on Wednesday assured India that China was ready to resolve disputes through dialogue, but not at the expense of Beijing's strategic interests. He also tried to justify China's Belt and Road Initiative by saying it is not encroaching upon India's national sovereignty as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. Xi was speaking at the opening session of the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. His speech focused mostly on rebuilding the ruling CPC, keeping its socialist structure intact.
中国坚定奉行独立自主的和平外交政策，尊重各国人民自主选择发展道路的权利，维护国际公平正义。 反对把自己的意志强加于人，反对干涉别国内政，反对以强凌弱。中国绝不会以牺牲别国利益为代价来发展自己，也绝不放弃自己的正当权益。任何人不要幻想让中国吞下损害自身利益的苦果。
Listing China's recent achievements in his 3-hour speech, Jinping said the country has entered a new era where it should take center stage in the world. Xi, who is the General Secretary of the CPC, also vowed to make the People's Liberation Army a world-class military by the mid-21st century. He also pledged to make a sweeping victory in its fight against corruption to escape the historical cycle of rise and fall.
我国社会主要矛盾已经转化为 人民日益增长的美好生活需要和不平衡、不充分的发展之间的矛盾。 我国稳定解决了10几亿人的温饱问题，总体上实现小康。不久将全面建成小康社会。
The Congress, which takes place once every 5 years, will end next Tuesday. The closed-door summit determines who rules China and the country's direction for the next term. President Xi, who became China's leader in 2012, is widely expected to remain as the chief of the ruling party. The party is also expected to unveil new members of the country's top decision-making body, the Politburo Standing Committee. Nearly 3,000 delegates are attending the event, which is taking place under tight security. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here are more national news updates in Nationwide. Gold prices rose to 290 rupees to a 3-week high of 31,000 rupees per 10 grams on the eve of Diwali at the bullion market today on increased buying by local jewelers. Silver held steady at 41,000 rupees per kg in limited deals from industrial units and coin makers. Delhi police seized over 1,200 kilograms of firecrackers and arrested 29 people from 13 districts in a drive being carried out after the Supreme Court ordered that temporarily ban the sale of firecrackers. 8 cases were registered in North District against people found selling firecrackers. The Central Bureau of Investigation said it will probe the circumstances revealed in connection to the Bofors scam, including the information provided by Michael Hirschman. Hirschman, who first found the Bofors papers, was a secret investigator deployed by the Indian government. The CPI today said that a pre-poll alliance between left parties and the Congress may not be possible as they are the main opponents in some states, but it is essential to forge a common platform to fight the BJP. CPI General Secretary S. Sudhakar Reddy said this could be in the form of a no-contest understanding. A quick break here. Up next, we'll get you the top international stories.
From cowries to metal pieces, Indian currency has seen many changes. The earliest punch-marked coins came from Gandhar. The East India Company at the turn of the 19th century also minted its own coins. The Indo-Greek coins come from a colony left behind by Alexander. They depict the golden rule of the Guptas, with embossed human portraits and matrimonial alliances like Chandragupta Maurya's wedding with Seleucus I Nicetas' daughter.
Bringing in the bureaucrats was also a message to the outgoing people that, look, if you don't perform, we can get in the bureaucrats to do the job.
Everybody has to perform, and if somebody doesn't perform, he's out. And that applies also equally to us who are now being brought in from the bureaucracy.
The Christians normally have remained quite wary of BJP and, its objectives. How are you really going to bridge that trust deficit?
We need somebody with the backbone to manage India.
Political violence in Kerala is also some kind of a symptom of a political intolerance.
There's a huge space for development politics. I mean, this is what we focus on. We are kind of painted in your media as being right.
Watch To The Point with Union Tourism Minister KJ Alphonse only on Rajya Sabha television.
Raju Ki Baoli, located in Mehroli, is considered the most ornamental of Baolis in the national capital. It was built by Daulat Khan during the reign of Sikandar Lodhi in 1516. Rajya refers to masons who used it. The entire structure is subterranean, so only the topmost story is visible as the visitor approaches. Walk towards its steps and each lower level slowly reveals itself. The top floor has a row of arched niches. There are 3 levels going down with 66 steps. The Bauli complex has a 12-pillar tomb and a mosque with plaster decoration on it. Carved brackets support the chhajja below the parapet. There are rooms behind this arcade, meant for shade and shelter for visitors. The Bauli combines Islamic architecture with hints of Hindu engravings and geometric designs.
Welcome back. Let's get to international news, starting with the latest from Afghanistan. The death toll in 2 suicide and gun attacks on Afghan security forces has risen to 80, with nearly 300 wounded in the bloodiest day in the country in almost 5 months. It was a coordinated attack on the police in the southeast city of Gardez in Paktia province. The Taliban has claimed responsibility for the deadlier of the 2 attacks. At least 60 people were killed in the blasts and ensuing battle that lasted around 5 hours. Some 236 people were also wounded in the assault. Hospital officials are calling for blood donations. Meanwhile, a separate ambush blamed on the Taliban in the neighboring province of Ghazni killed 20 people, including 15 security officials and 5 civilians, with 10 wounded. The attack began when 2 suicide bombers driving an explosives-laden truck and a Humvee blew them up near the training center, which is close to the Paktia police headquarters. The blasts flattened a building and enabled gunmen to force their way inside the compound. Most of the victims are civilians who had come to the police headquarters to get their passports and national IDs. The attacks are the latest in a series of assaults on security installations, including one on a military hospital in Kabul in March, which may have killed up to 100 people, and a devastating attack on a base in Mazar-e-Sharif, which left 144 people dead. Meanwhile, at least 7 people, including 6 policemen, were killed and over 22 injured when a suicide blast hit an army truck in Quetta city in Pakistan. The death toll could rise further as 7 of the injured people are in a critical condition. Emergency has been declared in all hospitals of the city. Rescue teams, police and security forces rushed to the site after the blast. The bomb disposal squad said that over 100 kilograms of explosives were used. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan claimed responsibility for the attack. Security forces cordoned off the area and have kicked off a search operation. The Iraqi military has declared mission accomplished in Kirkuk. The army also took control of all the oil fields in Kirkuk region from the Kurdish fighters. The fields were previously held by Kurdish security forces known as the Peshmerga, who pulled out of the area as the Iraqi troops advanced into Kirkuk. The 48-hour operation saw Kurdish forces almost entirely confined to their long-standing 3-province autonomous region in the north. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi said that Kurdish hopes for an independent state were now a thing of the past. This deployment of Iraqi government is part of an operation ordered by Prime Minister Abadi to take control of Kurdish-held areas outside the 3 provinces that form Iraq's autonomous Kurdish region. Meanwhile, life is returning to normal in Kirkuk as many people who fled the region continue to return today.
هذا اليوم تم التحرك باتجاه حقول نفط الشمال، حقل نفط باي حسن الشمالي وباي حسن الجنوبي، ومثل ما تشوفون حاليا احنا بسطنا الامن وفرضنا القانون بالحقول نفط الشماليه.
A wave of deadly wildfire in Portugal was brought under control as overnight rains and cooler temperatures helped firefighters in their operation. The fires that broke out on Sunday in northern and central Portugal claimed 41 lives and injured 71 others. Prime Minister Antonio Costa declared emergency as over 4,000 firefighters fought some 20 major fires till Tuesday. The fires, which raged for 2 days, devoured many homes and left large areas of smouldering forests in their wake. In the central town of Paradise, some small fires could still be seen in parts of the local forests. Villages have been abandoned, with many residential houses still left burning. Many roads remained closed. Officials are blaming more than just the weather for igniting the blazes and are looking into suspected arson. Meanwhile, a fresh blaze has broken out in Santa Cruz County in California in the U.S., which is now being dubbed as Bear Fire. This even as firefighters struggle to control deadly fires in Sonoma County and Napa Valley in Northern California. The fire has already burned through 200 acres, and firefighters said that the blaze is only 5% contained. In the past week, wildfires have consumed more than 245,000 acres across California, an area more than 5 times the size of Washington, D.C., and has claimed 41 lives so far. In other news, American author George Saunders has won Britain's Man Booker Prize for his novel Lincoln in the Bardo, becoming the second U.S. author to win the award. Lincoln in the Bardo is a fictional account of U.S. President Abraham Lincoln burying his young son. It was the first full-length work by Saunders, who was previously best known for his short stories. Saunders was the second American writer in 2 years to win the prize, after the rules were changed in 2014 to allow authors of any book written in English and published in the UK to compete.
And Lincoln in the Bardo, George Saunders.
Saunders' novel is based around 1862, a year into the American Civil War, and is a blend of historical accounts and fiction. The novel has won £50,000 prize. Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, presented him the award. And here are more updates from across the world in Global Buzz. In Pakistan, the Accountability Court, hearing a corruption case against Finance Minister Ishaq Dar, adjourned the proceedings until 23rd of October due to the absence of Dar's lead counsel, Khwaja Harris. During the hearing, the court was informed that Dar's lead counsel was out of the country. Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy appealed to Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont to act sensibly as the deadline approached to renounce a bid for independence. Rajoy's comments came after Catalonia on Tuesday refused to bow to the Spanish government's demand to renounce a symbolic declaration of independence. In another update from Afghanistan, at least 70 people were killed in attacks by the Taliban in Paktika and the Ghazni provinces. At least 40 people have died there, 150 others injured in a suicide bombing, as we pointed out earlier, at that police training center in Gades, which is, of course, Paktika's provincial capital. In an update, in fact, in Ghazni province, at least 30 others were killed in car bombings. And finally, let's get you some updates from the world of sports in Sports Beat. India will face South Korea in their first match of the Super 4 stage in the 10th Asia Cup hockey tournament at Dhaka tomorrow. India finished the pool stages with an all-win record. Korea, on the other hand, finished second in Pool B behind Malaysia. A division bench of the Kerala High Court on Wednesday restored the live ban imposed on cricketer S. Sreesanth by the Board of Control for Cricket in India in the wake of the 2013 IPL spot-fixing scandal. The bench gave the verdict on a petition filed by the BCCI against a single-judge bench's order, which lifted the live ban imposed on Sreesanth. Cristiano Ronaldo scored a penalty, but Real Madrid were held 1-1 at home by Tottenham Hotspur in the Champions League on Tuesday. Rafael Varane's own goal helped Hotspur take the lead in the 28th minute, but Ronaldo converted a spot kick shortly before half-time after a foul by Sergio Aurier. Real and Hotspur are at the top of the section with 7 points each.
Он, конечно, стоит 200 миллионов. Бензема, хороший кросс, падение, что орбита. Да, это Серж Аурье. За ним водятся вот такие француза. 1-1. Криштиану Роналду в Лиге чемпионов.
In tennis, Maria Sharapova lost 7-6, 6-4 to Slovakia's Magdalena Rybarikova at the Kremlin Cup on Tuesday in her first match in Russia since returning from the doping ban this year. The five-time Grand Slam champion, Sharapova, committed several unforced errors in the first-round match itself. That's it on the news at 6. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good evening.